Hi everyone. So today I'm chatting to Ceci, joining us from Malaga.
Hi guys, how you doing? I'm Ceci. As Pawan say, I'm in Malaga at the moment, just doing a little of digital nomad life. I live actually in London for the last 13 years. That's where I started my career as a digital pro designer like 7 years ago. And I have experience working for startups, agencies. And last year I started to work as a freelancer. This year I was the next step was let's do a couple of digital nomad. So that's why now I'm in Malaga for a while and then going back to London. Uh,
I'm so jealous because the weather in London is not warm right now, so I'm hoping it's a bit warmer where you are in Spain. So we were going to just chat a bit about mental health and UX design, and basically I wanted to ask how your design career has impacted your mental health. Like I know especially you've had so many different stages of your career and you're now working as a freelancer. Has that been tricky to manage?
um, So I think in terms of my career, I think because I'm self-taught, so let's say at the beginning it's all the imposter syndrome that you deal with.
Yeah.
And I started as an intern, a little junior, midway, senior. Also working is you get to work for different industries, different companies. It's also nice because you work with copywriters, other fellow designers, developers, managers, everything. I reckon at the beginning, my first years, I was getting so stressed. So I reckon in my first years, I was struggling a little bit until then I start to do things. I can't keep going like this because then has an impact in your mental
Yeah.
health, your physical health when you put so much pressure on you. So I start to recognize and let's say build my box of tools.
Like
Yeah,
techniques. Yeah.
exactly. To deal with anxiety or to deal with stress.
That's so good to hear.
Yeah.
That's great to hear that you like got on top of it.
Yeah, and it's a combination of things. For example, for me, it's really important to do my walks. They're like a ritual. The morning before starting to work, I go for a walk or I go to do exercise to the gym. Then also at lunchtime, for me, is I really need those moments to go out because as a human beings, we were made to be 9 hours sitting in front of the computer. Also, that's not great for my creativity. 15 minutes to 30 minutes if I can, a lunch break, at least 15. I go out, doesn't matter the weather, if it's raining, if it's gray, if it's sunny. I need to disconnect from the screen. And then that walk helps me to see problems with perspective. I go back, I see the computer and things, sometimes you can be blocked. And you're like, oh, I don't know how to solve this or have these options.
Yeah, I definitely find all my best ideas come when I'm like out away from a computer, like I'm on a walk or even when I'm swimming, because you can't get distracted by anything. You're just with your own thoughts for half an hour. You're breathing really slowly because you're controlling your breathing as you're swimming. So it just means that you can just think freely. And often when I've just had like tricky UX problems, like thinking about how to arrange things, or like as you say, like how to solve a
Yeah.
problem. You need time away from a screen to unblock that for sure.
Swimming actually is so great because you are present in the moment, you're in the
Yeah.
flow with the water, and you can be checking your phone, getting Instagram, scrolling, dumb scrolling to distract yourself.
So it sounds like you've been really good at very actively working on ways to reduce stress, reduce anxiety, be more present, and get away from screen time. I want to go back to something you said earlier, though, about when you first started and you were junior, you had a lot of imposter syndrome because you were self taught. I was also self taught. I have a computer science background, but I never had any formal design
Mm,
training. So for me, it was the same as learning on the job, learning
yeah,
from people around
yeah.
me. I wanted to ask, how did you kind of overcome that imposter syndrome?
Yeah, because I have a background in design, but totally different industry. So at uni in Buenos Aires, yeah, yeah. So I studied fashion and textile design. But at the end, one thing is when you study uni, another thing is the real world and the industry. And I really didn't like it at the end of the day, the fashion industry. And I have
Yeah.
many friends, they are developers in London. So I started to talk to me about, the tech industry and was so helpful. I found so many lovely people on my way. I will contact people in LinkedIn and to have chats with them, to show my portfolio. Everyone is so generous. These kind of encounters, that people sharing knowledge, being so supportive. So I was like, such a different environment from this industry from
Yeah.
the other one. But I was really lucky to start to meet nice people. Also in the agencies that I work, I made new friends and we're still like in touch even if we don't work anymore in the same place. Going back in terms of imposter syndrome, I'm really curious. So I think one important thing for us and as a designers and in our industry is to keep up that curiosity. And I feel like we always have to keep up with things, what's
Yeah.
going on.
Like learn new things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can be a different software, different technique, different ways to solve things. So for me, that was something that helped me always, like doing different courses, buying a book. Also look for inspiration. Sometimes, outside digital pro design, UX or UI books or
Yeah.
articles or blogs, going to a museum it can be really inspiring. You never know when that inspiration idea can come from. Then the other thing also, with who you share your time, trying, as I say, no, surrender yourself with lovely people, nice friends, lovely colleagues. That's also
Yeah.
good for mental health for me. Like finish work, try to meet some friends, or you hang with your partner. Not like really. I realized the first years maybe I had an imbalance with that, and then I realized no, it's important also with who you are sharing your time. Share more time with the people that you love. Uh,
Yeah.
that also help us.
I think the thing about colleagues as well is so like so important because I don't know about your first job or first few jobs, but my experience was that I got so fortunate that my very first line manager and career mentor were just so encouraging. They really pushed me to try new things and do UX stuff. And then they also just had a culture of feedback where they were like, come to us with any problems, come to us with anything you're unsure about. So I think that feeling like I was an imposter or not good enough at something was really quelled by them just saying, no, you are doing it right. Or if I wasn't doing something right, they'd be like, this is the way to do it. But it was always in a safe space where I felt like I could make mistakes as a junior.
Yeah, that's so important. It's true, like that safe space and people that support you and will give you feedback. That's so important for the growth in
Yeah.
career. But yeah, for me it was a combination of that. Also keep learning on my own, I love to do research, keep researching. So all those things give me more confidence in myself.
Yeah.
And we can't know everything.
Yeah.
We encounter every day or every month like different challenge in a sprint. It can be the same company, but oh, this new spring, oh, I never did that before. New challenges. Or in agencies, you work for different industries, but is gaining confidence in yourself that you can find a way to resolve that. Like reaching to colleagues, doing research. But I try to repeat myself like, I will find a way to sort out this. I will find a solution to this. It's a challenge. It's not the end of the world. And
Yeah.
also remind ourselves, not give some perspective. Like this is not rocket science, and we are not doing operation.
Yeah. It's
We are not the operation doing an operation of
yeah,
our
it's definitely not the end of the world if something
yeah.
goes wrong. But it's so like good to hear you saying that as someone who's had so much experience that you still struggle with things and it still takes you a while to figure stuff out. So also on this topic, people always talk about having spending so much time on their phones and having really high screen times. And I think a lot of apps are designed to like keep you sucked in. That kind of affects our mental health as well. That like really plays on it quite a lot. So yeah, what do you think about that?
No, definitely. But in particular, social media. And something that pisses me off is like, we work in this, we are pro designers and we understand how it works and the features and what they want to push. And still, I get, hooked into it. And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
but for example, what I try to do every year, let's take example with Instagram, I
yeah.
delete it from my phone at least for 1 month. And it's like, I don't miss it.
Is it like,
I don't miss
relaxing?
it. Like I get hooked.
Do you do the same month every year?
Yeah, I
Okay.
try to do it because you gain time. It's like you are
Yeah.
more present in the present moment. I don't have the urge to check my phone. And yeah, usually I see that sometimes, our attention definitely has negative effects in our level of attention and focus because we're multitasking, we're doing one thing, we check Instagram and check. And I find myself doing that. And I have days that I can be, knowing wrong about 1 or 2 hours. At the end of the day, I say, what I spend, like, I could be reading books, watching a movie, I don't know.
Yeah, just like where did that time go? Do you have like any strategies that have worked for you? Because I know some people like put their phone in black and white or have like timers, app timers.
Yeah. Even when I put the timer, sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't care. Just like put more time in the timer.
Yeah.
I cheat with the timer. But yeah, for me, my ways of one is 1 week to 1 month in the year to experience life without having that phone,
Yeah. Any social media.
like not feeling the urge that I had to check my phone constantly. And then another thing that sometimes I do is the alarm, because sometimes we are like, oh, but the alarm is my phone. So then it's the first thing that you check. So I try to do that, maybe have like a analog alarm, not so that I don't
Yeah.
grab my phone. So I start to do the first things in the morning, like, I don't know, wake up, brush your teeth, breakfast, shower, whatever, little walk, and try to delay the first time that I see my phone in the morning. Because I reckon, yes, sometimes it can be the first thing, and then I can be like, oh, scrolling already in the morning. But how you find? Do you have any like ways to deal with social media in a healthy way?
Oh yeah, I go through cycles of uninstalling and reinstalling all my apps. I recently one thing I did recently is I have this one app called Habit Kit, and it's basically like on GitHub where it shows how many days you've contributed. It's like a habit tracker,
Yeah.
and I've completely removed all the apps from my home screen, and I've just got a bunch of those. And one of them is like have breakfast every day, meditate every day, swim every day, and I'm just like so when open my phone, the first thing I see is these. So I know that if I haven't done one of those things, I could do that instead of opening the news or whatever I'm opening on my phone. So
Ah,
that's quite good. It's kind of like a prompt to be like, hey, you're allowed to do this, but
yeah.
make sure you've done these good things first. It's just like trying to replace the bad habits with good ones.
That's such a good reminder, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that, but it's so great because the first thing you see is like, okay, wait a minute, I don't need to damn scroll.
I've still got these
And
things to
all
do.
these
Yeah.
things in the real world, in the physical world that I could do before. Yeah, because for me, I don't want to say, oh, social media is bad, it's all negative. It's just that these are new things. They have been around less than 2 decades, like 10 years, 12 years. So also it's a learning curve for all humans to know how to use them well. You mentioned that application you're using is something that has a positive impact in life. But I think that's the hard thing now, for example, with social media, to find a point that is I don't have it at all, or I have it and then I can stop to consume it. Uh,
Yeah, I think it's quite unreasonable to
yeah.
say, people are always like, oh, you could just delete all your social media, but it
And
is
it's
quite hard to
silly,
exist in the world without it.
because at the same time you want to be part of it in a way, and then it's like,
Yeah. I definitely think it all comes from a place of like the metrics or the way that designers have worked on these.
mm,
They are just like optimized to be so addictive. Like
yes,
the way they design these apps is just like a product of designing something in such a way that you just get completely hooked on it. So yeah, we have to like relearn how to behave and like exist with these things. As you say, they're like brand new to society.
exactly.
So just before we go, I just wanted to ask, do you have any resources or recommendations for people who are maybe more junior designers and are struggling with the stress of hitting deadlines, working full time, just like tools to manage that kind of stuff?
Yes, I have one that comes to my mind. There is a website, and also I follow him in LinkedIn, Vitaly Friedman. He is amazing, like the amount of resources about anything. You
Yeah.
imagine that shares every day, from if you are looking for a job, like different ways of track the job and organize yourself for the job hunting, from different methods to do research or usability testing, from UX patterns. It's amazing. Like he shares a lot of resources, like I think
Yeah.
daily. If you follow in LinkedIn, then I'm thinking for people that is thinking to go more like nomad, there's a website called for designers that want to maybe try 1 month or 2 months of a nomad life.
Yeah.
There's a website called nomads.com. That
Okay.
is the number one global community of 30,000 remote workers. They do meetups so you can meet new people. You also can research about destinations, uh, keep track of your travels. Another tip I will say is, well, I came here and I didn't know anyone. It really helps if you go to a co-working space. I'm living in a co-living, so I met people for a co-living, but also I go to a co-working space almost every day. And that's a great way to meet other people in the industry. And also there's usually they do events, activities, you meet new lovely people. So that's would be my
Awesome. That's such great advice. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And also, yeah, thank you so much for joining me today.
thank
It's
you.
been so nice to chat to you and hear about your life experience and all your advice. So,
Yeah,
yeah, thank you so much for taking
it's
the
lovely
time.
to meet you.
Lovely to meet you.